All right, welcome everyone to the next episode of Authentic Confidence. I'm your host, Ben Foskey, and I'm excited today. I sent out a teaser a little bit on this a few weeks ago on stutterer to stages. And the gentleman who's going to be with us today, Jeff Brewer, I met him through actually we're in a mastermind group together. And it's an amazing mastermind group led by Jeff Walker, who's one of probably the world's leading sort of launch experts. And Jeff Brewer is a core part of that team and a core part of my experience. And the first time I went to my first event, you're kind of nervous. You're getting to know different people. And Jeff was one of the most charismatic, friendly, intelligent, sharp, and very quickly we became friends and brainstormed about things. And we had a really cool conversation at our last mastermind in Durango. At the secret headquarters, which was fun. And Jeff was sharing about his life story. So I asked him to come on the podcast, and graciously he said yes. And Jeff's really a product launch expert to other online experts. So people who have brands and are helping change the world with their message and help others, he really helps them take that business and monetize it and figure out ways to make it a business, where you can, because if you're trying to help people and there's no cash flow, then obviously it limits the number of people you can help. So he and I have brainstormed on some ideas together, and he's a golfer who's an aspiring golfer. We have that in common as well. So welcome everybody, Jeff Brewer. So Jeff, thanks so much for coming on and being a guest for us here today.
Hey, Ben, thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be here with you and your awesome community. And yeah, thank you so much for all the kind words. Super appreciate it. And hopefully we can make this time together action-packed and provide as much value for your community as possible.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Jeff, you present at a lot of the mastermind groups, and one of the things that you and I talked about is, and I'd love sharing people's stories, right? So a lot of people think, oh, Jeff Brewer, life's been easy. Look at him, he's got it all together. Life's come at him. Just no matter what he does, it's successful. And then you and I shared a little bit about some of your early days in building a business. And one of the stories that I found fascinating is that you actually struggled with a stutter early on in your career. So tell us a little bit about that. Where did that how did you have that your whole life? And then how did you work through that? What were you thinking about yourself as a leader? How did it impact your confidence? So just kind of talk us through that point in your life.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And yeah, it is something that I developed from an early age. I don't really remember the origin of it, but yeah, ever since I was a young boy, young child, my mom had mentioned that I definitely had stuttering issues earlier on. And she put me in a little bit of speech therapy when I was really young to make it a little bit better. But yeah, I think, I had some kind of experiences that made it tough. And, my I was living in, this Orange County perfect world. Every family was, on the outside, like perfect family. Mom, dad raised them, amazing parents, lived a great life, great schools, private school, community, etc. And my mom and dad divorced early on when I was 3. So I think there was definitely some, some emotional and physical trauma that my mom suffered from my dad, and that kind of inflicted on me. So it's something that I, witnessed at a really young age, that a lot of stuff I witnessed at a really young age that I shouldn't have. And I think that negatively impacted me. And I'm what's called a covert stutter. So like, if you don't know what that is, it's like, you probably wouldn't think that I'm a stutter because it's not as bad. But what I found is when I entered the business world, I was actually in finance and was a finance major, and I thought I was going to kind of go into that space. But I was presented with the unique opportunity out of college to actually work with my mom and uncle at a digital marketing agency that they had acquired. And I was actually on my way to go do finance in Shanghai in China, because I had studied there in college, and they acquired this digital marketing agency. And it was kind of around 2007, 2008. Social media was really hot, and I had always kind of wanted to be an entrepreneur. It was kind of like Gary Vee talks about this concept of like I think people are born with entrepreneurship or at least entrepreneurship qualities. So I was always the kid, even from an early age. I was like selling cookies and brownies and lemonade at like the gate right in my neighborhood. I would go to these baseball tournaments because I was a big baseball player, like for myself and my brother. All the kids were trading pins. I was like selling ours, for like $2 a pin. And yeah, I think I don't even know why. I was just doing all this stuff and I was just kind of liked money and liked making money. And I was, the kid who would go mow people's lawns. So I think it was something, there's kind of a family of entrepreneurs and not even them telling me to do it. I just kind of did it. So when the opportunity presented itself for me to, kind of join them and they said, hey, we just acquired this digital marketing agency. Like, do you want to be a part of it? Do you want to be a partner in it and help us grow this thing? I was just like, yeah, I just kind of, it pulled me to it. So it was a great opportunity. And it might have sounded like a cool thing. I think for most people, they don't get opportunities like that. And I was very lucky to get that. I think the problem was that it was an opportunity I wasn't ready for. And I was kind of like, there was no really training, wasn't like a corporate structure, big team. It was like a very small business, small team of kind of individual experts. So I was kind of thrown into like the fire, the lion's den, so to speak, with some of these bigger clients. I never like, I was pretty much the project manager, like doing all the internal client interfacing and running like the kind of the project managing the whole team. So I was like this 22-year-old kid who was telling guys that were like 48, like, hey, I make sure you have that website design file ready in the next 48 hours, Walter. So I think it was, but at the same time, just because the way I was raised, I was very much I didn't feel entitled, right? I was very much like respectful of everyone and kind of came in ready to learn like a sponge. But the problem with being thrown into the lion's den, like the fire, so to speak, of an industry that you don't really know a lot about, was it kind of reinstilled this like anxiety, this anxiousness, this don't really know what to do. I'm kind of like learning and flying by the seat of my pants, just kind of learning every day as much as I can. And I was getting on, leading these calls, kind of just trying to like project manage between our team doing the work and the client paying for the work, right? Just kind of trying to telephone between the two and, learning like client services and all that. And it just created a lot of like anxiousness. Like, I don't think a lot of people start their career with like the stakes that high and not having any kind of formal training. So what had ended up happening is I found myself in these calls, and every time I got on a call, I was just super anxious, super nervous. And yeah, this stutter just like came back, and it didn't come back. It just come back. It came back with a vengeance. Like, it just was getting worse and worse and worse. And it was almost to the point where I was like going into these like sales meetings or these business meetings with my uncle or with our team. And I like got to a point where I almost felt like I couldn't even speak. I was like nervous to speak the English language. Right. And it was a pretty scary thing. And multiple calls, multiple meetings, I, was stuttering very bad. It was like really embarrassing. It looked bad on me. It looked bad on the company. It created uncertainty in like the clients we were working with. I remember one meeting where people would Gary, my uncle, who was kind of leading everything, he was the sales guy, really charismatic, this like silver fox in a sharp suit kind of guy. And I was just kind of like his right hand man, but just would sit there. And a lot of meetings, the client or the prospect would be like, so what does Jeff do? And I remember I was like so scared to even speak because I don't want to stutter. I literally didn't even answer. I just like looked at Gary to like talk for me and say what I did because I didn't want to talk. So it was a scary time. And the big epiphany I had was like when you're put in a situation in life where maybe the stakes are too high, maybe you don't think you're ready, maybe you're just not ready, and you know you're suffering because you're not in a place to succeed. There's two things you can do about it. Like, one is you can continue to go on the path you're on until you fail, or you can step up and rise above it and figure out how to solve the problem that's currently being faced in front of you. So it was one of my earliest lessons that like, hey, if you have a problem, it's big, it's a big problem that's negatively impacting your life personally and your business professionally. you need to do something about it. You need to take action, right? You can't, the definition of insanity is continuing to do the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So I finally said, like, hey, enough's enough. Like, I got to do something about it. And I remember the turning point was like, we had got our biggest client. It was like a huge client, like a client that honestly was like, I felt at the time we didn't really even have business getting because they were really big. And we had prepared this big presentation once we kind of locked them in as to prepare what we were going to do. And I was leading the call, and I remember it was a kind of digital call on Zoom, I think. And I was so nervous I couldn't even speak. I literally just like threw my computer to someone on my team, and I was like, "Hey, you got to do it. Like, I can't handle this." And I remember I like ran in the other room. I literally was so embarrassed. I kind of like ran in the other room, and I like dropped to the floor to my knees, and I just like looked up at God, and I was like, God, is this it for me? Like, is this going to be my life? Is this all I have in store? Because like I just can't do this anymore, you know? And that was like the epiphany that hit me. I was like, I got to do something about this. So
Mhm.
I kind of found a speech therapist and I started going to her weekly and I was telling her kind of what was happening. And I found that, you know, I was personally, I didn't really have any of these issues, but it was just kind of like professionally when I was in
Mhm.
these business meetings, I would just feel these words coming on. I would get really nervous and yeah, I would get anxious. And she gave me a lot of really good technological strategies, tools, exercises to do. And I remember Ben, like one of the coolest things she taught me was like, hey, one of the exercises you're going to do is you're just going to call all these local restaurants and order like a fake to go order or ask them about their restaurant. Not, it wasn't order to go order. It was like ask them about the restaurant hours of operation, all this, what are they serving? And intentionally stutter on purpose. And I was like, what do you mean? Why would I do that? She's like, what's going to happen is you're going to desensitize yourself to
Mhm.
the thing that you're afraid of most. You're going to do the thing intentionally that you're afraid of doing. And I was like, are you sure about this? She's like, yeah, trust me, do it. So I was doing it and I would make these calls and stutter on purpose. And then what ended up happening is psychologically, I stopped being afraid of it.
Mhm.
Doing the thing that you're afraid of made you like it removed the power of the fear that it put on me. And it made me no longer scared of doing it, which was pretty cool. And I ended up kind of using that and leveraging that and a couple other tools and strategies. And that partnered with, I realized I didn't really know as much as I could or should in these meetings.
Mhm.
And there was a lot more I could learn in a shorter time frame. So I started going to conferences. I started like staying outside extra with all the experts on our team. I started going to like events and studying as much as I could with all these aspects of what we were doing. So in a short time, I started walking into a lot of rooms and business meetings, going from being scared to talk, introducing myself, saying what my name was, to feeling like every room I went in, I was the most knowledgeable intellectual person on the subject matter expert that they were hiring us to perform.
Mhm.
And that really was a game changer because it made me change from being nervous and anxious to clear, confident that we were the right business that had the right solution at the right time for them. And because I had started practicing like speaking points, what I wanted to say, and because I was no longer anxious, scared, and afraid, right? And I took power, I took the power back of what was happening to me, and I stopped looking at it as like something that was happening negatively to me, and I started thinking, hey, how can I make this happen for me and put myself in the best stage and step to really succeed. And I think it was like not just the confidence of knowing what to do when you get that feeling that the speech therapist taught me, but it's having the education, right? Of like knowing what to say at the right time and making the client feel very confident that you're the right person, the right solution for them. And I think that was really what started me on the next step of really the feeling like I can figure this out. And not just in this business, but in any aspect of life, really.
Well, and what I love about that, thanks for sharing. When your clients now are coming to you and saying, Jeff, you don't understand. I can't make a video. I can't share my story. I can't like how do you, like what's your response to them? I mean, obviously you can completely relate, right? You can when someone's struggling, you know what that struggle feels like. And so how's that helped you help others? How is that perspective? How is that? Because I always believe that, our biggest challenges actually, you know, my ability to coach confidence comes largely because I struggled with confidence so mightily early in my career. So when someone says I'm struggling with it, I'm like, yeah, I've been there. So how has that experience helped you? Because now, I mean, much of your business is around communication. And
Right.
you would, I would argue you probably had the lowest, the biggest challenge with communication in your professional life. So when somebody comes to you and is like, Jeff, I can't do this, or I can't make this video, there's no way, you don't understand my fear. Like, what's your response?
Well, I think one of the strongest characteristics you can have as a leader, business owner, entrepreneur, personally and professionally, is the skill of having empathy for people.
Hmm.
And I think that's why people a lot of times fall short is they try to do or teach something that they've never actually personally gone through.
Yeah.
One of my buddies who is like not so much a close friend, but more like a friend of a friend acquaintance. His name's Drew, and he is a fitness expert, and he was teaching a lot of overweight people how to lose weight, be healthy, right, get in shape, etc. But he's like this super good looking, super jacked guy, and he realized like I don't exactly know what it feels like to be 70 pounds overweight, like a lot of my clients are, and they're just telling me, Drew, like you don't understand. I can't not eat unhealthy. Like I need to eat this food. It just makes me feel good. So what Drew did was he went through this radical transformation where he said, I'm not going to lose more weight. I'm going to put on 70 pounds intentionally. So over like the next few months, he intentionally put on 70 pounds to make himself overweight like his clients were,
No
just so he
way.
could lose it all back with them in like a challenge format. And it was super cool. He like went on Jay Leno and all this stuff. And it was like a national story. But his brand is like fit to fat to fit. And he did it so that he would be able to be in the shoes
Yeah.
of his ideal avatar and prospect for the duration of his life and know exactly what those food cravings were that that they're going through. He felt those too. So for myself, I think about it in the same way. Like I put myself back into the shoes I was once in, and I think about, what did it take for me to get out of that? And I think it took clarity. I think it took
Hmm.
coaching. I think it took confidence. And I think it just took action, like putting one step
Hmm.
in front of the
Yeah.
other and saying, hey, I have a problem. I can continue to do the inputs I'm getting and to get the same output, or I can change the variables of the inputs I'm putting in to this problem to come up with a better output and solve the equation and have a better solution. And once you solve problems in a shorter time frame, you can exponentially compound that. You solve one problem, it then increases your capacity to solve a bigger problem. So I think life, personally and professionally, in business and in life, right? It's all about, I think the smartest, most successful people are just the people who are the best problem solvers.
Hmm.
So your ability to communicate confidently and clearly just comes from honestly consistency and
Hmm.
being clear on like who you are, who you're trying to attract, how are you different, what specific problem do you help a specific person solve, and how do you specifically help them solve it, and then how do you consistently put that message in
Hmm.
front of as many of your ideal avatars as possible, as consistently and as frequently as possible. And if you do that over a long enough time horizon and time frame, it would be unreasonable for you not to be successful. So I think for
Yeah.
me, I just continue to put myself in uncomfortable situations, having like a very clear linear message of who I'm helping, how I'm helping them. And I think for me, the biggest exponential shift I found in gaining confidence came from getting people results,
Yeah. Right.
because the results become not even for yourself, right? Like help other people first. Cause I found it's easier to help other people, honestly, than it is kind of sometimes help yourself. So I just started helping other people and I started working for free at the start. And I just, in some of the masterminds I was in, I just said, like, hey, first and foremost, like, what skills do I have? Right. So with the digital marketing agency I was running, we were really good at, creating websites and then driving traffic to those websites. What I found when I joined, Russell Brunson's mastermind, Jeff Walker's mastermind, is like in that business, trying to, I was like, hey, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll build your site, we'll do SEO, we'll do social media. We were just like anything someone wanted, I was like, I'll do it, we'll figure it out, even before we were ready. And what ended up happening is what I realized is like when you try to be everything to everyone, you end up
Mm-hmm.
actually being known as nothing to no one. So if you're not known for something, you're not known for anything. So when I
Mm-hmm.
joined Russell Brunson and Jeff Walker's mastermind, I was like, oh my God, what is the pattern between them and all these other people who are the most successful people in this room, in this group? They're known as being the best in the world at one thing. Now, that one thing doesn't have to be similar. And in every case, it was actually different. It could be who they were, what avatar they were going after, what geographical location, language they were reaching people in, country they were marketing in or doing business in, or the specific industry or niche in which they were serving people. But they were known as like being the best at that one thing. So that was the
Mm-hmm.
epiphany I had. I was like, oh, I'm in the wrong model, right? I need to stop trying to be everything to everyone in like a done for you service. And I need to try to be known as the best at one thing to one specific type of avatar and one specific type of niche, having one specific type of model. And if you can make that model like do it yourself or done with you, where it's a scalable business model, right? Where I can have a small team, small infrastructure, but have an infinite ceiling of clients' results that I can get that has a direct positive correlation to the amount of effort I put in, the amount of attention I'm able to accumulate, and then the amount of a list I'm able to grow, and then the amount of revenue I'm able to generate, right? That is how I can really help other people leverage that model. And then how I started to do it myself. So I remember when I joined Russell's mastermind, in Jeff's mastermind, I really went deep into like funnels and product launches, right? The actual, okay, once people follow you on social or see your ads or get on your list, how do you actually turn that prospect into a client? I just began obsessing over that part of it, right? I was launch hacking and studying all the $1 million, multi-million dollar launches from the top marketers in the world, like screenshotting all their funnel pages, recording all their videos, transcribing them, studying them, looking at all their offers. What are they saying here? What are they doing there? When they open cart for 5 days, what are they doing every day? How is it unique? Just began like a mad scientist, kind of obsessing over like every single launch. And I was able to identify a lot of unique patterns between a lot of them of what they were doing and why I was successful and how it was working, and following specific launch systems to do that. And then I just really started finding specific clients or prospects in some of these masterminds and saying like, hey, I'll work for you for free or like for a lot lower than I normally would. Cause I think I can really help you. And just by doing that, really, I created an irresistible offer for them because I was able to educate and articulate what the system was, how I could use it, how it's been successful for others, and what I know about it, and how I can help them achieve similar results, and how I would do it for way more than or way less than it was worth and or for free. So it really became an irresistible offer. I was presenting a lot of these top marketers and experts that I was trying to work with and attract, where it was like zero risk for them and they wanted to do it anyway. So for example, one of my clients, his name was Doug Polk, and he's one of the top professional poker players in the world. He started creating a lot of content, teaching people to play poker. He had a membership, and I met up with one of his partners in person. I said, "Hey, did you know if you guys sold a course to your existing audience for like $1,000 tomorrow, you would have a bunch of people, right, that would who are in the membership or who are on your list who would get it?" And they're like, "That's so funny you said that. We've been talking about it. We've been thinking about it. How would that work? What would that look like?" And I kind of walked into the process, and they're like, "Dude, we would love to do this with you. What would that cost us?" And I gave them a way lower price, kind of irresistible offer than what it was worth to me. And they're like, "Done, let's do it." And pretty much a month later, we put together their first product launch system to sell their first course. And just from no ads, just internal list, email list only, they did $305,000 in 5 days, selling their first $1,000 course. And then I showed them how to go from that live launch to turning it evergreen, right? Which is like running ads to a lead magnet free asset, getting people on your list. And then through marketing automation, using the launch assets we created. So then they were able to make money while they slept. And they then were able to generate about an additional $50,000 minimum per month just through pure marketing automation, making money while they slept. And then they ended up doing about $1 million from that first product in the first 7 months. And then they're like, this is golden. How do we do this for every other thing we teach? And then they just ended up launching like course after course after course. And it became like multi seven figures in revenue. So that's just one example of it. But it's the ability to take your knowledge, experience, expertise, right, and package it to reach your ideal avatar and invite them to a unique launch system where you can storytell, educate, explain your unique system or framework deliver people some type of educational experience and or even transformation for free or for a low dollar amount than they've ever been able to experience or invest in that short of a time frame for that low of a dollar amount. And then there's always going to be a percentage of people, 1, 5%, 10% of the people who are consuming that free content or that low paid content, right? Who are going to want to work with you at a deeper level. And they're going to want to, once you present your irresistible offer to your course, membership, coaching, etc., there's always going to be people who went through that pre-launch, that launch experience, and they're going to want to invest to work with you at a deep level after that launch concludes. And that's essentially what I just have been able to help clients do over and over and over again, starting with, kind of what I learned and what I found to really get me here. But I think it's just a matter of really having the confidence that once I got this client and even more clients, and I've been able to now generate 7 figures, multi 7 figures, selling $1,000 courses, $2,000 courses in less than 5 days for some of my clients, it became very easy for me to charge a lot of money for clients to work with me once I got those results for clients. It was pretty hard, and or I didn't really have the confidence and clarity I needed to really go all in and charge high prices out of the beginning or at the beginning. But once I was able to get those results, that gave me all the confidence and clarity I needed. Right. And I think a big negative perception or like mistake people make is they think out of the gate, oh, if I just charge people the lowest prices, I'll get more clients. But a lot of actually the best clients you want to attract, they associate like price to value. So what that means is like you could never be the cheapest and be the best. Because if you were the best, you would never be the cheapest, right? It's like that's why Rolls Royce and Rolex are expensive cars and products, because they're great. It's a great car and a great product. So I think in many aspects of life, people know like you get what you pay for. So if you want to be the best, you can use temporary solutions like that by creating irresistible offers for the right people to get the success story at the beginning for a lower amount, like I did. Then once you have it, you're going to get more in line with attracting the right avatar, the best type of client, by charging higher prices and delivering more value, right? Or doing things like guaranteeing your service or going above and beyond, right? Giving them, over delivering, giving them more than what they paid for, promising a big result and delivering an even bigger one, right?
Well, and
But I think people who are the best clients, they're going to invest the most to work with the best people.
Yeah, and I have definitely experienced that both from you on stage and in our conversations. Obviously, you're adding value, you're helping people, you're doing it because you want to, and we've had a handful of conversations, and every one I walk away going, wow, this guy is smart, and he's an engineer, and he really cares about helping me, and he doesn't even know me that well, but like it just absolutely comes across that you're like, even when you present to the mastermind, like you're pouring yourself out to this group, like I am here to help you.
Yeah.
And for the right person then that wants to go further, it's just an easy, gradual conversation to go, yeah, the next step looks like this, which leads us to our next conversation is Jeff and I are actually going to be putting a challenge together. So part of what we talked about and when Jeff and I were chatting about his stutter. So now, Jeff, you're on some of the biggest stages in the world. What does it feel like now? Do you ever have like the pinch me moment when you're up, like presenting and you're on a stage and you're like, I remember when I couldn't speak in a meeting, like I physically couldn't get a word out, and now here I am. What is that like when you're on those stages? I mean, do you ever just have, it's amazing where I've come. I can't wait to see where I'm headed next. I mean, what is that like for you?
Yeah. Well, I think what I found is to get on the stages, you have to be worthy of getting on the stages, right? So a big principle I like to live my life by, and I think everyone that has any type of success personally or professionally that I've learned from, like they have a set of principles that they live their life by. And one of my principles I've really tried to embody, as you were just alluding to, is like just lead in service and like lead in value, where I think a lot of people, if they're going to spend time, energy, and effort in something, it's like, what's the ROI of this transactionally? And how do I make sure that if I'm putting time or money into this, like I'm getting more time or money back from it.
Hmm.
And I think they're looking at that equation on too short of a time horizon. So the way I look at a lot of relationships is I want to, in every relationship I'm in, like give the other person more value than what they give me. And I try to not have really any asks for the other person. So like the value that I give other people, whether it's in a one-on-one small group or a large group setting, it's not indicative of you always having to like pay me or give me something where I'm like, oh, the value equation is now equal. Now I can give to you. Right. I think if you lead in service and if you lead in education and value, and if you really not just try to speak in, I think a lot of people who are successful too, they speak in like generalities or they speak more about, hey, I'm the best at this, or I do this great, or here's why you should do this, or here's why you need to do this. I'm more of like, well, tell me more about your business. What's your biggest challenge? What's your biggest problem? Here's how, based on past experiences I've had in
Hmm.
my business or with my clients, I would think about solving this problem. And here's what you might want to try.
Yeah.
And one out of every 10 conversations you have will lead to, well, what would that look like if you actually help me solve that problem? Because some people, they value their money more and some people value their time more. The people who value their money more would rather invest the least amount of money today to invest more time to get that desired result. But a lot of the clients and entrepreneurs I help, they value their time more than their money. They know their money comes and goes, ebbs and flows, but their time is the most valuable asset they'll never get back. So they're paying for speed. They're paying for increasing the probability of success in the shortest time frame possible. And because I have a lot of experience results systems, I've been able to help increase the probability of success and reduce that path to success, potentially saving people the 10 to 15-year learning curve and leading with like specific examples and success stories with clients. So a lot of the stage opportunities that come with those are from other experts. I've
Hmm.
been on the either live or virtual stages for some of my top mentors like Russell Brunson and Jeff Walker, either in private mastermind stages or like virtual event stages or live event stages, right? I've been on other experts podcasts, right? Like this virtually. I've been on other experts stages, both here in the US. I've also done multiple events with partners in countries like Japan internationally. I had a whole community, right, that actually started from the events we did in Japan, where I was actually had serving the Japanese entrepreneur, creating a whole program where we were like translating everything in real time into the Japanese language, having me lead it with them, which was very cool. So I think, the more you're leading with like, and that opportunity happened because I helped
Hmm.
that expert and that avatar in his own launch without him being a client, so much to the point where he was like, dude, those strategies you gave me were so influential and so amazing. I doubled the sales conversion on my launch, and I've never had a sales conversion that high and never done that before. I can't even begin to articulate to my community on my own what you told me to do. Would you want to come to Japan and
Yeah.
teach my audience the way that you taught me at a larger scale, right? And one thing leads to the next. So I think leading in service, leading in value. I think a lot of people are like, well, what's in it for me? What am I gonna get paid for this opportunity, which is great. That's cool if you're at that point or if you need that for it to justify your time. But if you don't, if you're looking for more opportunity, I think you're going to have more success seeking out those stages, those opportunities, than if you're just sitting back trying to have them organically and naturally find you. So what I do is I do like active outreach, trying to get on people's podcasts. I'm starting my own shows where I'm going to have other people on. I am in some of the top marketing masterminds in the world where I'm delivering value, adding value. So it's not like, hey, do you want me to be on your podcast?
Right.
Just from what I've given to them, this opportunities like this exist where they're like, hey, I need you to be on my podcast because it would be
Yeah.
so valuable for my audience, right? Or the expert who's mastermind or group coaching program or whatever networking group you're in, they're like, hey, this person helps this person in a unique way overcome this unique challenge with this unique solution. So anyone that I know who has that same problem and wants to overcome that challenge with a similar solution, I'm going to refer them to him. And it
Hmm.
could be one-on-one. It could be like, come on my podcast, come speak on my stage. But to me, it's like the proactiveness of leading with service, value, and making yourself known, right? And I've found if you're not known, you're unknown. If you're not in demand, you're not in command of your life and of your business. So to me, the
Mhm.
biggest thing is like you really got to have those opportunities coming to you because you're seeking them out. You're not just kind of waiting for them to passively happen.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And one of the things based on all of that, and Jeff and I having some conversations, is we're going to be having a confident communicator challenge is going to be coming, which is we're not going to reveal all the details today, but Jeff and I are going to be bringing to you because exactly what he just talked about is a huge part of confidence is communication. If you're not able to communicate in small groups or on stages, so much of your leadership, so much of your influence, so much of your ability to coach and impact others is hindered when you aren't able to communicate. So what we're going to do in this challenge is we are going to save you probably 5 to 10 years, and it's going to be free, and it's going to be something that we're going to add a ton of value to you, and we're going to basically help you in a matter of days uh, learn our three-step system to communicating confidence. So we've never done this before. We've never shared this before. This is brand new information for our entire community. And really, it's a give back because imagine if we have thousands of people that are able to communicate with confidence in a 3-day window, what's possible in their lives, what's possible in the lives of those that they serve, and some of those are going to want to learn more, and some of those are going to want to learn more about Jeff and his business. Some of them are going to now start businesses, and they're going to want to grow their confidence in that way. So we are so excited to share this with our community, and Jeff's going to partner with us on that. So there's going to be a link that's going to be below this video that you can get on a waiting list to make sure that you're in the know of all that information that's coming. It's going to be coming up soon. So can't wait to share that with you. And Jeff, thank you so much for partnering with us. As you can tell, everyone, he is a genius. He lives this stuff. He cares about people. I mean, I think we could talk about this for hours because the benefit when and that launch, right? That $300,000 launch is awesome. And it's a metaphor of every person that was, that comes to us and we add value and we make that deposit as human beings. That's a huge part of why we exist on the planet, is to help each other. And Jeff lives this. And so if any of you have businesses where you want to really put a megaphone on your brand and on your online business, and you want somebody that can help you with all of the critical aspects of making money at it, of monetizing, of business development, right? That's a huge part of what Jeff does. Jeff, let them know where they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, and Ben, if I could just add one thing onto that, I think clear communication that is communicated consistently is the ultimate currency of today's world. If you can answer the question, what do you do? Why should we go with you? Why should we work with you? Right? What are you going to do for me? What have you done for us lately? It's knowing what you do, being good at what you do, getting people results. It's not good enough. You need to make sure that that is being communicated clearly and with conviction consistently, right? And a lot of people, I think they just either don't have the confidence to communicate clearly, so they're quiet and they fall into that trap of being unknown, and then they end up being forgotten. Or they're on the flip side of that where they over communicate or they're overconfident and the communication is not empathetic or about the prospect or the client, and it's all about like how great they are, right? And it's not about like how is your product perfect for the prospect who's listening? How, what do you know about them and their life and their experience, and what have they done? How does your product, program, or service help them achieve their personal professional goals? And once you work with them and get them results, how are you clearly and consistently communicating with them what those results are and how there is a next phase of what you can do and how you can help them? Because the worst thing is getting people results and then them leaving because they think they're done learning your system or you have nothing else to offer them. So in all aspects of our life, personally and professionally, we need to clearly communicate with conviction on a consistent basis. And I really believe that the ultimate life goals, dreams, personally, professionally, that you want to pursue are really on the other side of being able to communicate consistently and clearly with conviction, not just for yourself, but with those around you whose life that you can change. And your one origin story, your one sales presentation, your one presentation from stage, your one, social media system away from like attracting your ideal avatar and your life changing forever. But if you're not confident and able to clearly communicate consistently and with conviction, you're just going to be in the ear and out the other. And there's never been as much noise as there is today, right? Like the amount of information on the internet is going to double in the next 2 years, and the amount of content online has 90% of it has been produced in the previous two years as well, which is insane. So to even fathom, so if you think about it, only those who are communicating with the best conviction and clarity and standing out in a crowded world are going to be the ones who really get all the business and have all the things happen to them in your life personally and professionally. It's not just with clients, right? It's like networking, it's with friends, it's when your relationships, it's with your kids, right? The ultimate currency, like I said, in life is your ability to communicate with conviction and clarity. So I know this challenge and this experience is going to be everything you need to change your life and change your business. And it's going to be so easy and simple to understand and implement, right? And it's going to be have something that you have for the rest of your life. And it's like anything, right? It's like once you learn a new skill and you're able to then implement that and communicate it, you're then going to be able to exponentially compound the results that you get from having that clear and compelling conviction in your communication. So you got to make sure that you're with us on this upcoming challenge. It's going to be amazing. And I'm super excited for everyone listening and the future transformational results that they're going to get from this.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. And Jeff, if someone's interested in having a conversation with you about growing their business, where would you want them to go? What website?
Yeah. So I would love to, again, just deliver some value for you guys for free, even more than we have today. So I would say the best place to go is just to follow me on Instagram. It's just at Jeff_Brewer, at Jeff_Brewer. And I have daily free educational, free value
Awesome
videos I put out there. And if you want to get on our list from there, and we have some really cool free assets and guides that we have there. But yeah, I think that's a great place to start.
Well, as always, Jeff, a wealth of information. Every time you share, I'm just blown away at, because there's a lot of people who are really, we've talked about this, right? Really, really smart. And that can lead to an overconfidence where look at me, look at how smart I am, look at how much I know. Yeah. And that balance of, yeah, the reason why I've dedicated myself to this field is because it's in service of others. The better I get at this field, I'm not just learning literature or history, although those are great subjects. I'm learning this social world. I'm learning this online world. I'm learning this product launch world because that puts me in the best position to be in service of others. And that's the combination of doing something you absolutely love and are fascinated and driven by, along with the drive to help others. And that's the same with me. Confidence, when I first started doing this sort of work, confidence was a huge struggle for me. So I became ridiculously fascinated with it. And I've studied and researched and all those things. And that's part of why we're so excited about this challenge. Is the challenge is sort of the accumulation of all of Jeff's best work in the science and art of the process, and then bringing you our very most effective, most applicable communication strategy that we've ever developed. It's a 3-part strategy that we'll share with you that will help you get amazing results in your life. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining us, Jeff. Great to see you. We'll see you again in another couple months, I believe. We'll be together again in person. And man, just thanks for all you do for helping people, for helping our community, for helping us out on the podcast today. And any final thoughts or words for us and from you, Jeff? And thank you for coming.
Yeah, Ben, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure to be here with you today. Really enjoyed our conversation. It's great to catch up and speak as always. And yeah, thank you so much to everyone who listened and stayed until the end. And yeah, I just, I'm a big believer that communication is key, and just having that conviction in what you're communicating and being consistent with it. Right. And I think the cool thing about communication and confidence, it's not binary, right? It's not, I'm a bad communicator, I'm a good communicator. It's not, I'm not confident or I am, but there are levels of having clear, effective communication that you can consistently ascend to. And there are levels of being more confident. And I think it's one of those, like, you just want to be getting the right content, coaching, and community experience to improve your clear conviction and communication skills so that you can become confident. And like I said, you're just continuously trying to level up every day, every month, every year. And the sooner you can start to do that, the sooner your efforts of the information, knowledge, and skills that you're acquiring and the actions, the daily, weekly, monthly, annual actions you're changing, the sooner those efforts will begin to exponentially compound in all aspects of your life, right? And the better you will become, and everything in your life will just radically and exponentially improve and change. So I know the confidence I've had has come from my ability to more clearly and effectively communicate and really get to understand and really understand and know, like, what's the real thing someone's communicating
Mhm.
to me behind the words they're saying, right? Like, because we don't communicate just in the words we say, right? It's in, like, our body language, like the subtle nuances, the words behind the words, the things that we need or want that we might not be saying. I think communication, it's super important to understand all of those things, but it's one of those things where if you don't try to master it, if you don't try to improve that 1% every day, it's going to be hard to become the ideal person that you want to become. So in order to achieve mastery over your lifetime in anything you do, it all comes down to taking that one step, taking that first action today. So I hope everyone can join us in continuously trying to level up in our confidence and our communication, as we try to do it every single day as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jeff. Thanks, everybody. And more information coming up shortly. And thank you so much for joining. Take care.